guys, it's Lotus and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to continue on with our read-along of Urha. Let's jump right into it. Chapter 72. This venerable one stews soup. At night, the two of them lay on the wide stone bed, trying to pass the time while locked up was a task in and of itself. They had already trained and eaten, and now there was nothing else to do. Chuaning, calm and tranquil by nature, wasn't all that bothered, but Maran paced this way and that in the constricted space of the cave, and time only seemed to crawl even slower. I'm so bored! So bored! What to do? What to do? Chuaning, with his eyes closed. Sleep! But it's still so early! Maran glanced at the hourglass and shook his head. Way too early! Chuaning ignored him. Maran rolled about on the bed, then suddenly scooted over and pulled his cheek. Shidi! ... Shidi! ... Shidi! Chuaning's eyes flew open angrily. What do you want? Maran took his hands in his own and swung their joined hands back and forth shamelessly. Play with me! Am I the Shidi here or you? Chuaning wrenched his hands back, beyond irate. Who's gonna fool around with you? Maran smiled sweetly, truly and completely shameless. You, of course. Who else is there? Chuaning... ... Maran took off the narrow red cord holding his hair up, tied the ends together, and wove it around his fingers into a distinct pattern. Despite his protests, Chuaning sat up after all, asking grumpily, What is this? How do you play it? It's called Cat's Cradle. Mostly girls play it, not so much boys, but I grew up in an entertainment house full of girls, so I ended up learning it too. ... It's pretty fun, actually. See, hook your finger around this string here. No, not that finger. Use your pinky. Yeah, like that. Then, take your thumb and forefinger and hook around these two strings here. Maran instructed slowly and patiently. The candle flame crackled, casting its warm light on them, one big and one small, their heads lowered in concentration as they passed that loop of red string made from a hair tie back and forth, both their expressions slowly softening. Chuaning held segments of the string taut between his fingers as he followed Maran's instructions to weave a new pattern, but accidentally missed the string, so rather than turning into the new pattern when it exchanged hands, the red string returned instead to its original shape of being just a simple loop. He stared at it blankly, hands still held in midair, face full of incomprehension as he muttered, Why did it fall apart? What happened? Haha, you probably just missed a string again. Again? No more, no more, Maran laughed. The same thing over and over gets boring. Let's do something else. No. Now it was Chuaning's turn to be displeased. One more time. They spent 3 days in the cave, their fourth night there, and Maran was busy making preparations to cook something delicious for Chuaning as usual. He had figured some things out during these last few days together. His little Shidi truly was from the same place as Shizun. They even had the same exact taste in food. Tonight's delivery from the feathered tribe guard was a hen and a couple of mushrooms. Maran planned to make chicken soup with mushrooms, then add in some of his handmade noodles, and it shouldn't taste too bad. Are we having chicken soup tonight? Maran answered, glancing to the side at Chuaning. The kid was a genius in the martial arts, yet simply couldn't get a grasp on Cat's Cradle. But he was also stubborn to a fault and would play around with a hair cord trying to figure it out every chance he got. Maran couldn't help smiling at that mullish look of his. Maran said with a smile, Feel free to play with it while I cook, but I'm afraid the soup's gonna finish stewing before you work it out. Chuaning let out a cold hump and paused before saying, Is there any ginger left? Let me see. Yep, there's plenty. They gave us a bunch yesterday. Chuaning sounded satisfied. Put some in. It gets rid of the raw meat smell. Maran stroked his chin. Oh? And let me guess, add some wolfberries too? Chuaning's eyes brightened. Do we have some? Of course not. I was just thinking that your tastes really are just like Shizun's. He also likes ginger and wolfberries in his soup.
You remember what he likes to eat?
Haha, yup, I'm super clever. Moran didn't feel like explaining, and it's not like he could talk about things like past lives with his little shidi anyway, so he rolled with it. I'm a perfect model of a filial disciple following the standards of the 24 filial exemplars. Don't you know? It's just too bad that Shizun doesn't see my heartfelt sincerity. Moran began cleaning the chicken as he talked absently, and thus completely missed Chuan-Ning's expression. He plucked it and removed the innards with a quick, practiced hand, and was just about to boil the blood out when he heard little Shudi say in a quiet voice,
"He isn't necessarily unaware."
What? Seeing Moran look up, the tips of Chuan-Ning's ears turned red. He turned away and cleared his throat.
"I said, Yu Heng Elder isn't necessarily unaware that you're good to him."
Oh, that. It doesn't really matter. I'm already used to it anyway. Even though I did wish, once, that he would be like other people's masters and ask after me sometimes, or that he'd occasionally know what I liked, like how I know what he likes to eat. But that's all in the past now. When I first entered the sect, I was fooled by his pretty looks and thought he was a gentle person. Thinking back on it now is really... Sigh, my esteemed Shizun is so illustrious and unapproachable. And busy on top, too. How could I possibly dare to hope for his attention? Haha, ha 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 ha. Chuan-Ning was a little angry at his words at first, but then he thought about it, and although he was concerned about Moran and their daily life, he did indeed always maintain a veneer of aloofness and distance. He hung his head wordlessly. Anger turned into consternation. Instead, after a while, he hopped off the bed and walked quietly over to Moran. "What's up?"
"You're always the one cooking. Today's is simple, so I'll cook for you instead."
Moran blinked, then smiled. "Where'd this come from? You're too short to even reach the stove. How are you gonna cook? Besides, I'm your shishong. Since you've called me that, the least I can do is feed you." Chuan-Ning carried a stool over and climbed onto it, then stared at him stubbornly without a word. Moran, "Why are you glaring at me?"
"I can reach the stove just fine." ... "Yu Heng Elder may not know what you like to eat, but I'm not heartless like him."
Chuan-Ning said expressionlessly,
"Go take a break. I'll cook."
And so, Chuan-Ning busied himself with dinner preparations, refusing to let Moran help at all. There was an aura of menace and a concentrated ferocity in his eyes as he lifted the kitchen knife high into the air and brought it stiffly down on the poor chicken. Moran almost couldn't bear to look. Moran tried to help, but even the little Shudi's temper was just like Shizun, and hated getting interrupted when he was concentrating on something. So in the end, Moran could only scratch his head and wander off to go plop into bed. Having finally put the chicken into the pot, Chuan-Ning covered it with a clay lid and was just about to turn and say something to Moran when he heard a quiet voice from the cave entrance.
"Aran, Shasudi, are you alright?"
Wait, Shashudi, are you alright? As soon as he heard this voice, Moran immediately jumped off the bed as if struck by lightning and dashed to the entrance. Through a gap between the brambles, the first person he saw was someone from the feathered tribe standing there coldly. But when he looked around and found Shumei behind her, dressed in his usual whites and face full of worry, Moran was ecstatic. "Shumei, what are you doing here?" "I have something important to tell you," Shumei said. "Sect leader received the report and rushed over to the Peach Blossom Springs at once. He's been making negotiations with the Feather Tribe as we speak. How have you been? Are you being treated okay?" "I'm great. Eating well, drinking well, and jumping around too." Moran paused, then asked, "What about Shizun? Where is he?"
"I heard he's still in seclusion and didn't come."
"Oh." Something flickered past Moran's eyes. Then he sighed and mumbled to himself. "It's fine if he didn't come. It's fine."
But Xuanji Elder came to vouch for Shashudi," Shumei asked. "Is Shashudi already asleep?"
Moran, "No, he's making soup. Shudi, come over here." Chuan-Ning put down the little bamboo fan he was using to fan the flames and walked over to the entrance. He looked at the two people outside, expression not the least bit surprised, and said flatly,
What is it?
Shimei didn't even get a chance to speak before that feathered-trapped person humped and shot back. What else could it be? People from your Shisheng Peak came. Your master says he'll vouch for you and is meeting with our great immortal lord right now.
My master?
Xuanji Elder.
Oh.
Chuaning paused, face totally expressionless.
Good.
The corner of the feathered tribe's person's mouth twitched. You two can come out. Everyone is already gathered at the Dew Sip Pavilion waiting to hear your explanations. Chuaning turned to look at the chicken soup on the stove and said,
I'll pass. The soup isn't done cooking yet. I have to keep an eye on it. Moran, you can speak for me.
Hearing his words, the feathered tribe person thought him to be an immature, unreasonable child and smiled coldly, trying to scare him. You'll miss your chance to defend yourself if you don't go, and if you get judged to be the murderer, there goes your head. But Chuaning wasn't even concerned, a face full of indifference as he shot her a cold glance and turned to leave. Shimei was about to call out after him, but Moran shook his head with a smile. Let him be, I'll go.
But Xuanji Elder came all this way. It would be rude to not greet him.
Before Moran could say anything, Chuaning's voice came from afar.
Mo Shisheng, please send Shizun my regards. ...
Shimei had said it so quietly, but it still got heard. Feeling a little awkward, he cleared his throat and waited for the feathered tribe person to open the brambles covering the cave entrance, then immediately grabbed Moran to leave. Unexpectedly, Chuaning turned around just then and called,
Shisheng!
Did Shidi change his mind and want to come along after all? Moran smiled. Chuaning's little hand waved in his sleeve.
Of course not. I just wanted to remind you to come back soon, or the soup will go cold.
Moran blinked and then laughed helplessly. All right, wait for me. Chuaning said nothing else, watching Moran walk away and disappear behind the corner before turning back around to attend to the soup. The Dusip Pavilion wasn't far from the lock-up cave. On the way there, Shimei asked offhandedly,
Aran, you seem to have grown even closer with Shidi these days.
Moran smiled. Yeah, we went through a lot together. What, is Shimei jealous of a little kid?
Nonsense.
Ha, no need to worry. My favorite person is and will always be Shimei.
Oh, stop talking nonsense. I just feel like Shidi is a little odd.
Odd? Oh. Moran thought for a bit, then nodded. I guess he is pretty odd.
You think so too?
Yup. Moran grinned. He's such a little thing but talks just like an adult, and his magics are no joking matter either. Oh, and I haven't gotten a chance to tell you guys yet, but the stuff that happened in the illusion was even more bizarre. I think he might be a distant relative of our Shizun, you know? Shimei's eyes shifted slightly, and he asked,
Why do you say that?
We saw someone in the illusion, the son of the Lin'an governor from 200 years ago. His surname was also Chu, and looked just like Shizun, and his son also looked... Just when he was getting to the important part, a sudden burst of loud cursing came from the front. He looked up just in time to see Xuemeng striding over with a thundercloud on his face, still cursing without stop. Bastard! Beast! Shameless mutt! End of chapter 72. Author's notes. Wei Yu Why hasn't Shizun's identity been revealed up until now? I want to let Shizun return to his adult form. Meatbun. If he goes back to his adult form, can I still develop the plot properly? I locked you and him up into a small dark room. Thankfully, he's still in the form of a little boy. Otherwise, wouldn't I have to cook an effin' 10,000-word meal, aka smut? With this sort of performance, you still want to have sex? Dream on, trash. Even Meatbun likes to tease Moran. I guess it's because he really is a dumb husky, huh? Okay, so to summarize this chapter, Moran and Shasuni get to spend more time together and grow closer, and they're just living a really cute domestic bliss right now. And in this chapter, Moran is doing the usual. He's gonna make some soup for Shasuni, but Chuaning is like, you know what? Since you know what I like to eat, I'm gonna make you something too. And so we know that Chuaning isn't the best cook, but how hard is it to make soup, right? Well, we're gonna have to find out in the next chapter if Moran gets to drink Shasuni soup, but I think it's just really adorable that Chuaning is taking the initiative. And then, while they're, you know, about to have dinner, Shumei arrives, and he's letting them know that, that they're well, not Moran Shizun, because Moran Shizun's in, closed cultivation, but, Shui Jianyang and Xuanji Elder are both here to vouch for their disciples. So, you know, it's time for him to plead his case and explain and prove to the court that he is not the murderer of 13th. Or was it 15th or 13th? Or 18th, wait. The bird tribe person that died was 18, right? Yeah, so it's time for Moran to plead his case. Chuaning decided to stay behind and finish making the soup. Oh, what a cute, diligent Shizun, isn't he? Okay, let's go on to the next chapter. Chapter 73. This venerable one is confused. Isn't Moran always confused? Having run into Moran so suddenly, Xuemeng blinked. This was the first time the two had come face to face since Moran was detained. Recalling how Xuemeng defended him in front of the others, Moran smiled at him, in spite of himself. But Xuemeng was thoroughly shocked by this grin and looked disgusted. His words contemptuous. What are you doing? What are you looking at? What are you smiling about? What's there to smile about? I'm greeting you. Disgusting! Moran, ... A comeback like that killed Moran's conversation starter, and Shumei hummed pensively for a moment, but didn't push for any more answers either, and only smiled at Xuemeng. Young master, who annoyed you now? Who else could it be? Who else can it be? Shameless, disgusting, despicable, obscene. Moran sighed. That doesn't rhyme. Who cares? Why don't you go at it if you're so great? I'm not great, I'm uncultured. Moran chuckled. Come on, tell us. Who pissed you off? Shumei said with a smile, I bet it was Da Shishang again. Goddamn Da Shishang! Beast! Pervert! If he's so easy, how come he hasn't gotten syphilis? I'm freaking willing to give 10 years of my life so that he gets sores on his head, ooze pus from his feet, rotten nose and rotten eyes. Let's see who'd like him then. That despicable, shameless, obscene... Moran, ... what did I miss? Seeing that Xuemeng was going to sink into an endless cycle, Shumei hastily stopped him, pointing behind and exclaimed, Shush! Look! The beloved Da Shishang and those lady cultivators have come! Xuemeng jumped, and that always proud face suddenly flashed a trace of trepidation. He cursed, filthy debauched, under his breath, but actually turned around and left with his tail between his legs without looking back, truly panicking like that of a beaten dog. In the end, however, he still wanted face and shouted back, I suddenly remembered I've got something to do, so I'm heading off first. Moran watched him scamper off out of sight and was amazed. Wow, this Da Shishang really has it going. Actually scaring him off like this? Shumei held back his laugh. Ever since he ran into him the other day at the restaurant and got into a scuffle, he's been like this since he got back. I guess he's met his match. Amazing, amazing. I've got to see him for myself sometimes. While those were the words that left his lips, but inwardly, Moran had already gotten some ideas. If that man could make Xuemeng hide like this, then this Da Shishang should no doubt be the one he's thinking of. But now wasn't the time to enjoy Xuemeng's spectacle. Shui Jianyang and Xuanji had already arrived at the Du-Sit Pavilion, and were just softly discussing 18's murder case with the master of the Peach Blossom Springs, the elder immortal of the Feathered Tribe. The elder immortal of the Feathered Tribe was practically divine. The glow of spiritual light circled and enveloped her body, and while she looked to be a young woman of a fair, tender age, heavens knew how old she actually was. She was just explaining the case calmly to Shui Jianyang when a personal attendant walked in and reported in a low voice, Elder Immortal, we've brought them. Send them in. Moran and Shumei entered the warm pavilion, scanned around, and saw Shui Jianyang was fanning that infamous fan, speaking to others, and they immediately called out, Uncle! My child! My child! Shui Jianyang heard them and looked around. His eyes lit up and quickly beckoned them over, then patted his shoulder. Come, sit next to Uncle. I didn't kill her. Of course it wasn't you! Of course it wasn't!
Xue Zhengyang sighed incessantly.
Who knows how this misunderstanding came about? The Elder Immortal told me everything just now, and my coming here this time was to help prove your innocence. Sigh, heavens have mercy, look how downtrodden you look!
He pulled Moran over, and the Elder Immortal of the Feathered Tribe didn't stop him either, and only watched the two with passive eyes. Moran also greeted the Xuanji Elder too, and immediately sat down next to Xue Zhengyang's side. However, what made Moran wonder was Xuanji didn't immediately notice his disciple Sha Sini wasn't around, and only very naturally nodded at Moran. It was actually the Elder Immortal of the Feathered Tribe who asked, Where's the other child? The one named Sha? Ah, yeah. Only then did Xuanji come around. Where's my disciple? Moran saw that he obviously didn't care for Sha Sini and felt somewhat upset. My Shudi is still locked up. He asked me to greet you on his behalf. Is that so? Xuanji nodded. Well, why didn't he come? Moran replied curtly. He's cooking. ... Xue Zhengyang was bewildered for a moment, then laughed. Is cooking more important than clearing his name? Xuanji also grinned, playing around so capriciously. I'll go check on him once the meeting is over. No need. After the meeting, we still gotta eat, Moran said. Interrogate however you will, but let's get this over and done with. Thus, Xue Zhengyang spoke up. Elder Immortal, let's continue what we were discussing earlier. How about this? We have an elder in our sect who is skilled in refining pills. Before coming here, I asked him to refine a number of truth pills. Truth pills? The Elder Immortal was slightly taken aback after hearing him, and lightly tapped the corner of her lips with a dainty crimson finger. Is it that pill that could make immortals speak the absolute truth? That's correct. The Elder Immortal was rather surprised. The materials required for this pill is complicated and difficult to refine, and even here in our Peach Blossom Springs, it takes at least half a month to produce such a pill. I'm amazed that my lord has such a medical expert. Why didn't you bring him along? He's asocial by nature and dislikes traveling with others. Xue Zhengyang replied, the pills are already being refined and they could be sent to the Peach Blossom Springs by pigeon post within 10 days. When that time comes, pray my Elder Immortal come to testify the effectiveness of the pills and have the young disciples take them. The truths will be revealed then. ... The Elder Immortal contemplated for a moment, then inclined her head. That is feasible. Xue Zhengyang sighed a breath of relief and smiled. Then, if that's the case, let me go this instant to bring my other disciple out of the prison cave. Hold it. What is it? Before this affair is cleared, both Moran and Sha Sini are still suspicious, the Elder Immortal said. Even with the sect leader's insurance, this venerable cannot allow freedom to two of them. When Xue Zhengyang heard this, he shut the fan with a clear "pa." While there was still a smile on his face, his eyes had grown colder. Now that's a little disingenuous, Elder Immortal. The Elder Immortal of the Feathered Tribe raised her gaze and stared at him with a pair of scarlet-red eyes. Is Xue Junzhu dissatisfied with our decision? Of course! Since a guilty verdict hasn't been passed on the two disciples of my sect, then with my and Xuanji Elder's watch and guarantee, what reason is there for Elder Immortal to keep them detained so intently? It's not really detention, the Elder Immortal said coolly. I've never mistreated them, and their daily meals are uninterrupted. I've only restricted their movements. It's not unreasonable. Xue Zhengyang was still smiling, but the smile had gone cold. Not unreasonable? In my understanding, that prison cave saw neither the sun nor the moon, a place to imprison criminals who are clearly sentenced as guilty. How incredible that with but a smack of lips, Elder Immortal determined it's not unreasonable just like that. There were Feathered Tribe guards on the side who immediately came to defend. Xue Junzhu, please watch your tongue. What, have I said something improper? I haven't humiliated nor cursed your Elder Immortal, and everything I've said was the truth. My words only lack the polite respect owed by a guest, but it's not unreasonable. The Feathered Tribe folk heard Xue Zhengyang's response and became even more enraged. You? A bare hand glowingly white as jade reached out and stopped him. The Elder Immortal raised her head and snorted coolly at Xue Zhengyang. We've once heard rumors in the mortal realm that Xue Junzhu of Shisheng Peak was a fickle man. while possessing strong spiritual powers, there was some lack in education and did not parse in word games. However, today, this venerable feels the rumors have lied to us. Xue Junju, how full of reasons you are. Xue Zhengyang also flashed her a smile, but there was no more mirth left in his eyes. I'm but a vulgar man. Pray the elder immortal not mind. That elder immortal of the feathered tribe grinned, raised her hand and picked a tangerine, then very carefully peeled it before holding it out before Xue Zhengyang. Then why don't you and I both take a step back? It will not be possible to give those two the same freedom as before, but staying in prison certainly isn't appropriate. This venerable one will order for Sha Sini to be released right now, and Moran and Sha Sini will move their lodging to Camp Sis Pavilion. That's a place for receiving guests. The only thing is I must send people to watch over it, forbidding the two of them from taking even half a step out of the pavilion. Is this agreeable? Xue Zhengyang was silent for a bit, then raised his hand, pausing midair, but in the end still took the tangerine. Although Camp Sis Pavilion was said to be a place for receiving guests, the Peach Blossom Springs didn't usually have guests. Thus, the interior of the pavilion had been neglected for a long time. Since the Elder Immortal permitted them to move to this place, Moran had planned to go over and clean up first, then go pick up Sha Sini once everything was ordered and tidy. Xue Zhengyang and Xuanji still had things to discuss, so under the watch of several feathered tribe folks, Moran and Shimei went over to Camp Sis Pavilion first. Camp Sis Pavilion was situated in the northwest of the Peach Blossom Springs. On the outside, blossoms were abundant like forests, the skies glowing brilliantly at the fall of dusk. This is a good place. Now, even if we stay here, we won't feel wronged, Moran said happily. Shimei sighed. How can you not feel wronged? You two obviously didn't kill anyone, but the innocent was wronged. Too bad Shizun couldn't come. If he had come, then he could just use Tianwen to interrogate, and there wouldn't be any use for some truth pills before the truth is revealed. Haha, Shimei thinks things are too simple. Tianwen is a holy weapon, and while it has the ability to bring out the truth, whether if it's effective is entirely dependent on if the caster has the mind to interrogate. Do you think those birds would be willing to let my Shizun interrogate me? Do you think they'll believe him? That's true. Seeing that the sun was about to set, Moran started tidying the house while Shimei helped on the side. It certainly was strange. Only when Moran finished cleaning the house and sat down to rest and drink some tea did he suddenly realize that he actually didn't feel any secret joy in being able to spend time alone with Shimei, nor did he feel charmed. Moran choked at the realization and almost spat out his tea. Shimei jumped in surprise. Oh, what's wrong? Nothing. Moran waved his hands insistently, but his mind was shaken. Had he really been training under Chuaning for so long that he'd also turned into a soul unmoved? Take a look at this Camp Sis Pavilion. The place was desolate, not a soul around. The peach blossoms were swaying, and the single men were left alone with only each other. If this was the past, then he for sure would have flirted hardcore with Shimei for a while before he got down to serious business. What was with it? Wait, what was it with him recently? Such purity of the mind. That shouldn't be. Moran scratched his head. Shimei blinked. Four eyes met, and Moran cracked a dopey smile, his dimples precious and cute. The peach blossoms outside are beautiful. I'll go pick a branch for you to take. Plants are sentient. Just let them bloom properly on their branches, Shimei said. You're very right. Then I won't pick them. They sat there in silence, and Moran dug through everything he could in his mind to start a conversation, but realized that with the lessening of days they saw each other, there was actually nothing worth talking about. When he looked up, he suddenly saw Shimei had a thin sheen of sweat from helping him clean the residence. Unable to bear it, he took out a handkerchief from his robes and handed it to him. For you to wipe your sweat with. ... Shimei lowered his gaze to glance over, and saw Moran was squeezing that handkerchief nervously and couldn't help but smile, replying gently, Oh, thank you. Thus, he took the handkerchief and lightly dabbed his forehead. The feeling of that cloth was light and soft, sewn with the best of silk, and after Shimei used it, he said, I'll take the handkerchief back and wash it before I return it to you. Okay, Moran answered promptly. His agreeableness towards Shimei was practically carved into his bones by now, and it had become an innate ability. If you like it, it's okay if you don't return it either. Shimei laughed. That's probably not right. Look how well this handkerchief is made. he said as he opened the handkerchief, smoothing out the creases to fold it again. Yet, just when those delicate, white and tender fingers felt over the opened handkerchief, Shinmei was taken aback and let out a soft, "Eh? What is it?" Shinmei paused and looked up with a smile. "Aran really wants to give me this handkerchief?" "If you like it, then take it. What's mine is yours." Moran was very generous. Shinmei's eyes were laughing. "Borrowing flowers from others to worship the Buddha, aren't you afraid that Shizun will find out and whip you?" "Huh?" This time it was Moran's turn to be taken aback. "What do you mean by borrowing flowers to worship the Buddha? What does Shizun have to do with this?" "Take a look yourself." Shinmei's tone was a little unreadable. "Such a big high-tongue blossom. When did Shizun give you his own handkerchief?" Ooh. End of chapter 73. Uh-oh. Moran's gonna get in trouble if Chuaning finds out that he gave away the handkerchief that Chuaning himself gave to Moran. Moran, are you gonna take it back, or are you gonna take back your words and embarrass yourself, or are you gonna give it away and then hurt Chuaning's feelings? You're stuck between a rock and a hard place right now, my dude. Okay, so to recap chapter 73, Moran meets with his uncle Shuejiang Yang and Xuanji Elder, and he doesn't actually do much of defending himself because Shuejiang Yang said that he will bring truth pills from Shisheng Peak, and in 10 days they'll be able to use it on Moran and Shasini to prove whether or not they were actually the murderers of 18. So until then, Moran and Shasini are still in lockdown, but after Shuejiang Yang insists on them being let out of prison, Moran and Shasini are moved to a somewhat nicer residence. So Moran and Shinmei go to clean it up before calling on Shasini, and Moran's thinking, "Whoa, it's finally my chance to make a move on Shinmei, right? It's just the two of us. It's isolated out here." But surprisingly, he doesn't feel the need or the motivation or the charismatic pull to make a move or to flirt with him. He does, however, lend Shinmei his handkerchief, and even Shinmei thinks it's weird. He's like, "Aran, aren't you gonna piss Shizun off by giving me the handkerchief that he personally gifted to you?" Good luck, Moran. Good luck. How are you gonna get that back? If you take it back, then you might hurt Shinmei's feelings, but if you don't take it back, then you're gonna hurt Shizun's feelings, so, good luck. Other than that, we didn't get a chance to see Shasini in this chapter. Shasini is still cooking, I guess, still boiling the soup. Hopefully we see him in the next read-along. I want him to show off his work. Hopefully his soup doesn't taste that bad. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's read-along, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye!